Okay guys, we're back for our last video of the week. I'm gonna try and keep this as short as I can. This is part 3 of angles dealing with the unit circle. So we're gonna start off by determining the length of an arc. We're gonna go back to that. Okay, so we have theta equals the arc length divided by the radius. Okay, so the arc length of a circle is S, right? So if we equal that to the radius times theta, but remember that theta must be in radians. Okay, so this is what an arc looks like, this curve. That's the arc length. We have a radius and our measure. The radius can be here or it could be here, okay? So let's jump right into finding an arc length. So we have that the radius is 3 feet and they give us 30 degrees. So remember, we need it in radians, so we're gonna have to use our formula from yesterday's video to convert, okay? So let's start off by plugging everything in. So we have 30 over 180 equal to theta r over pi. To solve for this, I multiply by pi to both sides. So I have 30 pi over 180 as my theta in radians, okay? So what would be my next step? Am I done? No, I want to try and simplify this. So I'm going to look to divide both sides by 30, okay? 30 pi divided by 30 gives me pi, and 180 divided by 30 gives me 6. Okay? But we're not done yet. We've just converted to radians. So now I have to plug it back into here. So I have S is equal to R. My radius was 3. My theta is now pi over 6, okay? So when I multiply these, I would get 3 pi over 6. Can I reduce that? If I divide by 3 on both sides, I'm left with pi over 2. And when we're talking about arc length, if we want to leave it in radians because we're dealing with a unit circle, we can, but if you do pi divided by 2, you should get 1.57. And then we were talking about feet. So we want to make sure either you leave it like this or you leave it like this. But remember, in like the real world, when you're giving dimensions, you really wouldn't tell people pi over 2. You'd say 1.57 feet. Okay, the next one, they actually gave us our theta in radians. So I can just plug that into my formula. S equals, sorry, my radius is 2. My theta, it's in radians, okay? So it would just be 3 pi over 4. I multiply straight across, so then I have 6 pi over 4. If I reduce that, I divide both sides by 2. Okay, so then I get 3 pi over 2 feet, okay? Or you convert it to decimal, which would be 4.7 feet. Okay, either one. Or if you want to write both to start getting used to that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This time, this part of the video, we're going to be talking about finding the area of a sector of a circle. So just a piece of it. So this is what the area of a sector is. So we would have a full circle, right? This would just be a little piece inside the circle. So we're given that theta divided by 2 pi is the area of the circle, but when we multiply that to the area, of a sector, the area of a circle is pi r squared. So when we multiply these together, we get theta pi r squared divided by 2 pi. Well, they both have a pi in common, so I cancel those out and I'm left with theta r squared over 2. This can just be rewritten as a half times theta times r squared. So we're going to be using this formula. Okay, remember, theta must be in radians. So this is our last question for today. So we're given theta in degrees, not radians. So first step is we're going to have to convert that. Next one, we're given radius is 20 feet. So all we have to do is do like what we were doing before in the last question. Okay, so I'm given my formula, but first thing I need to do is convert. So I have 30 over 180 is equal to my theta radian over pi times by pi on both sides. So I get 30 pi is equal to the theta radian, right, over 180. We know that we simplified this before. If we divide both sides by 30, we get pi over 6. Okay, so we're going to be using this to put into our formula. Okay? Oh, wrong formula for this one. Scratch that. We are doing area is a half theta r squared. My bad. Okay, so we have our theta, okay, in radians, so I can plug that in, and we have our radius, which is 20, so I plug it in. I have a half. If I put everything in parentheses, it'll make my life a lot easier. Okay, so I have a half, and then this is pi over 6. My radius is 20 squared. So I have a half times pi over 6. 20 squared is 400. Okay, since we're dealing with area, we're not going to want to leave it in terms of pi, so we're going to multiply everything. So we do 1/2 in our calculator, and you can just plug this right in. So we have 1/2. Use another parentheses. Pi divided by 6 in another parentheses. Parenthesis, 400. Close the parentheses. They're multiplied all together, so I have 104.7, and then we'd round it to 104.72, and then we're talking about feet, and the degree on feet would be squared because we're finding area. Okay, so remember, you can pause this video at any time to copy down anything that you need. You can email me with any questions. Remember, don't stress this out. We're going to take everything I'm going to split up into different parts, take it piece by piece, okay? And that's all for this week, okay, guys? You guys have a great weekend.